Hello, good afternoon everyone. Today, my group and I will be presenting our assessment on environmental impact on the ECRL project, specifically on its effect on the flora and fauna and how it ties into environmental, societal, and economic decision making. So for Group 1, we have Harvey Ramri bin Ahmed, Muhammad Akmal bin Asbi, Ahmad Kazafe bin Sulaiman, Nikmoni binti Mik Muhammad Zaidi, and lastly Isno Hayanis binti Muhammad Saufi. So for this presentation, we will be presenting about the introduction, impact to the environment and decision making, impact to the society and decision making, impact to the economic and decision making, and lastly is conclusion. The ECRL is a major infrastructure project spanning over 665 km across Peninsular Malaysia to enhance connectivity between the East Coast and the West Coast. At speed up to 160 km per hour, the ECRL passenger train will significant cut travel time from Kota Baru to Gombak approximately 4 hours. The ECRL is also expected to support commercial activities, drive investment, job opportunities, and boost tourism activities along its rail network. The ECRL project is expected to be complete by the end of 2026. And the key concern here is the potential environmental impact on ecosystem and rural communities.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Haider Amri, and the first part I will present about the impact of ECRL project to the environment and decision making. Potential impact during the pre-construction and construction stage. The alignment of ECRL has undergone number of revision in the planning and design stage and transitioning through forest reserve via tunnels. As such, habitat loss and fragmentation has been identified. For the construction of tunnel portal and other temporary works, there may be additional forest clearance. The potential flora and fauna impacts include: first, habitat fragmentation; second, habitat loss and disturbance; third, human-wildlife conflict; and the fourth is poaching. For the habitat fragmentation will cause species to become threatened or endangered due to the loss of habitat for wildlife sourcing for shelter and food. The population of small mammals will decrease and large carnivores will tend to source for food at the forest edge. Domestic range animals would be their easy target. Fragmentation could potentially lead to human-wildlife conflict in surrounding areas. Some of the areas that the ECRL traverse are known to harbor wildlife, including large mammals such as sun bear and tapirs. Vegetation clearing to build the tunnel portal will result in direct loss of the few endangered timber species such as resak, kering gombang, and also cengal. Constructing the viaduct will result in loss of mangrove trees such as bakau minyak, which is rhizophora species, and also the nipah along the river. For the habitat loss and disturbance, most birds build their nests on or in trees or nearby shrubs, while some on the ground. With such diverse use of trees and its surroundings by the avifauna, tree felling imposes a significant impact to their habitats and also survivability. This is because a tree and its nearby surrounding provide not just shelter or protection against elements of nature, but also provide food, socializing venues, and also the focal point, also known as niche. The noise will inevitably increase the existing noise level and hence directly or indirectly cause a disturbance to the existing bird community due to the movement of heavy vehicles during the development phase. Birds are known to guard their territory via calls and sound, which is called as territorial call. Territorial song is only effective if it is heard by the other birds, and noise from heavy vehicle can be so loud that the bird song may be distorted, resulting in difficulties. There also may be a chance that other individuals of the same or other species might intrude their territories, while later on induce quarrel and fight. When the quarrel and fight endures for a period of time, their survivability can be dramatic. For the human-wildlife conflict, loss of habitats and ecosystem is a potential cause of human-wildlife conflict. When the project area is developed and the wildlife move to another place to distance itself from the human activity, some wildlife may end up in the existing plantation and also the settlement areas such as elephant, wild boar, and also primates. It is also possible that other harmful wildlife such as spotted tiger, yellow tiger, and also bear may bring harms to the locals. Areas that are at risk for disruption due to the development are Aboriginal people. to their proximity to the proposed project area. If the entire forest is developed, then most areas are at high risk for human-wildlife conflict. The last one is poaching. In the process of developing the project, trees will be felled and the area cleared. This will cause the wildlife to move to other areas and as a result may facilitate illegal hunting. Without strict rules and supervisions, poachers will enter the disturbed area illegally, making use of the existing or proposed road to gain access to areas where previously were difficult to access. In addition, workers involved in the development of the area should also be monitored to ensure that they are not involved in the illegal hunting. During land preparation, the avifauna will face the threat of illegal bird hunting or trapping, while may cause species extinction. By having the access road built, accessibility and visibility for the poachers to certain places in the forest area will ultimately increase. Most species of bird are totally protected or protected by the which mean that any attempt to collect this bird from the area must have permission from the Department of Wildlife and National Park, which is Perhilitan, or be faced with a fine or jail term. To summarize the impact to the environment during the construction stage, the significant potential impact are first, loss and disturbance of habitats due to alignment passing through forested area. Second, fragmentation of forest and ecological linkage or wildlife corridor. Third is increase in human-wildlife conflict due to displacement of wildlife. So the pollution prevention and mitigation measure P2M2. The first one is revision and redesign of alignment to avoid cutting through forest reserve. The second is provision of tunnel to avoid fragmentation in certain forest reserve that the alignment passes through and in other hilly forest area. Third, provision of wildlife crossing to enable wildlife movement across the railway. Fourth, facing of site clearing and vegetation removal to enable wildlife to escape into adjacent forest. And the last one is preparation of a wildlife management plan to address matter pertaining to wildlife along the alignment. And for the impact to the environment during the operation stage, the impact first is restricted wildlife movement due to habitat fragmentation and obstruction of roaming grounds and migration route, especially for larger mammals such as tiger, elephant and tapir, and primates such as gibbon and monkey. Second, encroachment of wildlife into railway track. The third is collision between trains and wildlife, causing wildlife injury or and mortality. So the pollution prevention and mitigation measure P2M2. First, provision of wildlife crossing to enable wildlife movement across the railway. Second, barrier to prevent wildlife encroachment onto railway track and tunnel. Third, barrier around tunnel entrance to prevent wildlife encroachment into tunnel. Fourth, habitat enrichment in forested area disturbed during the construction. Fifth, preparation of a wildlife management plan. And the last one is monitoring of wildlife.
Here is the example of a wildlife that crossing our road. So here the example of the news that impact our wildlife, such as elephant. This is the maps of distribution of Asian elephant in Peninsular Malaysia. So this is a few of a national elephant conservation action plan in Malaysia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Khazafir bin Sulaiman. Now I will present for the impact to the society and decision making for this topic. For the impact to the society, number one is human-wildlife conflicts. That habitat fragmentation can cause wildlife to move closer to human settlements, and this may increase wildlife encounters, crop damage, or danger from large animals, example, elephants and tigers. Number two, for the displacement of communities. If ECRL construction passes through environmentally sensitive area, land acquisition may force relocations, and some communities may lose culture and spiritual connections to forest or wildlife-rich areas. Number three, for the ecotourism impact, communities relying on tourism may face economic decline. That will loss of biodiversity or scenic landscapes may affect ecotourism activities, especially in regions like Kelantan, Pahang, or Terengganu. Number four, for the impact to society, this is for the positive effects. The first is reduce road traffic, lower vehicle emissions, and will be upgrade public infrastructure in rural areas, improve transportation access between East and West Coasts, more job opportunities for local communities, boost in local economy around new ECRL stations. Number five, for the public concerns, disruption to natural habitats can increase the risk of zoonotic disease like disease that transfer from animals to humans. For example, increased interaction with displaced wildlife may raise health concerns. For the impact to the society and decision making, number one, public awareness and oppositions. That NGOs and local communities often raise environmental concerns related to ECRL's impact on flora and fauna, and public pressure has influenced rule change like avoiding forest reserve or national parks. Number two, for the environmental impact assessment EIA process, the government mandates EIAs before approving the project, and the local stakeholders can participate in EIA hearings, submit objections, or propose alternative. Number three, for the involvement of indigenous communities, decision making should involve free, prior, and informed consent that FPIC for respect indigenous rights and traditional knowledge because some of ECRL sections pass near Orang Asli village. Number four, for the sustainable development pressure, the public and international observe expect the ECRF to follow sustainability principles like protecting endangered species, creating wildlife corridors, and this shape policy decision and project adjustment. And the last, composition and mitigation policies. Societal decisions include compensation for affected communities and biodiversity offset programs. Example, reforestation, building animal crossing, or community conservation program.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Mira. So I will be presenting on the impact to the economy and also decision making. So how ECRL, the impact to the flora and fauna can relate to the impact to the economy. There are few ways. One of it is the loss of ecosystem services because the pollution from the ECRL, dirty runoff, air and noise pollution, will damage the plants and animals. So when nature is harmed, we lose important services like clean water, carbon storage, and also fertile soil. So this will further affect the farming, water supply, and also the climate. And these losses, usually it will cost the economy a lot. So the second one is the impact on ecotourism because the biodiversity loss will make ecotourism less attractive. So places like Pahang and Terengganu, they depend a lot on tourism because of their biodiverse forests and wildlife. So if these are damaged, local communities are mainly affected because they will lose their income. The ECRL project can also impact in terms of the agriculture and fishery because the polluted rivers and also coasts can affect the fish and soils. So the farmers and fishermen tend to earn less when their resources are damaged. We take an example like in Cameroon. So when hunting was no longer possible, people switched to farming, but the generated crop or yields were low and unstable. So the last one is the rising public and private costs. When nature is destroyed, the governments and companies usually will spend more money. But example for fixing damage, managing floods, or replacing the lost resources maintenance, and eventually it will reduce the natural resource availability. So this is the last slide that I will be presenting, which is decision making that helps to mitigate the impact to the economy from the ECRL project. So the first one is the urban green infrastructure, the UGI. It is the infrastructure which is the biodiversity friendly. It is to build wildlife crossing, green bridge, and also better drainage. So this may cost a lot in the beginning, but eventually they will save money in the long run and also protect the nature. So the second one is the policy drives and reward system. So this one we can also use as the in Malaysia we use payment for ecosystem services, the PES, which they function by giving money to the people who helps to protect the forests or rivers. So this will helps in both way, the nature and also community income. And the third one, the stakeholder engagement. So this include the local communities and expert in planning, balanced development and also nature protection. So this one also assists with the to build trust and also leads to the better outcomes. So the collaborative planning usually helps to balance the development and also the nature conservation.
So, in a conclusion, the ECRL represents a transformative infrastructure initiative designed to enhance regional connectivity, economic integration, and national mobility. So, the effective mitigation must incorporate ecological design interventions such as wildlife crossing. Secondly, inclusive stakeholder engagement, especially with indigenous communities. And thirdly, institutional monitoring and enforcement mechanism. Thank you.